Lead with Legacy, the official podcast of IOL Global. Here, we will explore leadership that outlives titles and trends. Through conversations with faith-based and marketplace leaders, we will discuss integrity, conviction, and purpose. To learn more about us, visit us at iolglobal.com.
Hello, welcome to the Lead with Legacy podcast again. I am so blessed today that we are having a special guest, Mr. Bryan Norris, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself and who he is. He is local here in Batesville, Arkansas with Sloan and I. Again, we have on the line Sloan Lott, who's my director of operations, who is incredible, and I'm so blessed to have. Mr. Norris, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then Sloan's going to take us through a little bit of a process.
Yeah. First, thank you guys so much for having us on, having these conversations and allowing people the opportunity to get to know all the unique stories and stuff throughout the world, throughout the nation, especially our great state of Arkansas. I am a native Arkansan, born and raised in the Delta of Arkansas, but I was smart enough when I retired to come up to the hills a little bit and get away from the mosquitoes. Grew up like the majority of Arkansans, poor. We're a poor state, and we have very, very significant pockets of just sheer impoverished communities. And I grew up in one of those, but I didn't realize how poor we were when I was growing up. Like, I had no azimuth. I knew we didn't have a lot. I knew other people had more than us, but I didn't really have an azimuth of how actually objectively poor that our family was until I left for the United States Army and came back. And that was an eye-opening experience to me because I had gotten used to having a little bit more comfort, making my own way, making good decisions, and living in that atmosphere for a while. One thing, when you get used to comfort, you immediately recognize it when you don't have it, right? And so that was pretty eye-opening to me to come back and just see that and experience that. I have my bachelor's degree in business management. I have my master's in transformational leadership. I've attended every leadership school that you can think of through the United States Army that any individual would go to, all the way up from team leader all the way up to a Operations Sergeant Major course and stuff. I was not a Sergeant Major. I did not get that rank. I was recommended for it, but I chose to retire instead of going for that rank. So got all that experience and finished out my college education, like I said. And then when we made the decision to retire, we chose Batesville, Arkansas, one, because we wanted a faith-based Christian environment. We wanted the Southern values that I grew up with. My wife's from Northern California, and we rolled off California just because of the political landscape they were in. It's a beautiful, wonderful place, but it's not where we wanted to raise our children. So we settled on Batesville, and we're very happy that we're here. We love it here. Not everywhere's perfect, but we're absolutely happy that we're here. And since then, I've been in the corporate environment. I work from home. I'm a project manager for a Fortune 500 company, and just make projects, do whatever it is that we need. And I do advocate for veterans, and I talk to veterans groups about help them with that transition.
Yes.
Because a lot of people were asking me, how'd you do it so quickly? Like, how were you able to just jump in and run? I said, well, the first thing you got to do is fit in when you get in. But most importantly, you got to realize who you're not anymore. Right? The military, especially when you achieve senior rank and position, it becomes who you are. It becomes your identity, right? And you can get very trapped in people standing a certain way when you come around, people behaving a certain way when you come around, because there's extreme consequences. Those individuals do not. But you lose context with reality in the civilian world, and that becomes your norm. And when you get out, it's not the case. And it wasn't easy for me right off the bat, but I had a decision to make. Am I going to do what it takes to be successful in this new environment? If so, how do I achieve that success? And one of those things is you have to couple everything. So I literally just disconnected with all my military friends, with all of them, got rid of social media, got rid of everything. I didn't want that stuff popping back up and coming back into my circle. And I did that for about a year plus. And so my new normal became everyone else's new normal. That allowed me to, what were the pros and good things from my experience in the military? And then how can I couple that on the civilian side and make that better, right? And there's a lot of systems in the military that are phenomenal.
Yeah.
They are world class in the way that they approach things and plan things and move things forward and organize people and get everyone buying in and do all that stuff, which fits really well into the project management sphere.
Yep.
And so it started taking old reports and old plans and old things I did in old schools and started adapting them to this new environment and creating new documents. And my organization absolutely loved it. All the groups that I work with, they love the structure. And that most importantly, one of the issues on the military side was for your people that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also a common issue on the civilian side. Well, I had solved it on the military side for the people that work for me. I was very diligent in that because I wanted to give that predictability in an unpredictable environment as much as I could. But I brought that to the civilian side. Now, the people just absolutely love it. Like, they don't have to react. That's the common feedback that I get everywhere I go. I love working on a project with Norris because I don't have to react. He's very proactive. Things are fed out to me. I know where we are. I know the reality. And when something changes and we have to adapt to it, he builds it into the plan to where it's weeks out and not the next day or I got to stop everything that I'm doing and go for it. So there's lots of good that, veterans can take, and they can be extremely value added into the civilian side. You just have to shove off a lot of stereotypes and language and attitude and stuff that, the civilian world just doesn't operate that way.
Yeah. As part of your transition from military back to civilian life, did you utilize any programs that were specific, like helping retired military or veterans using anything that was getting you ready for that project management sphere? Or was that something you tackled alone? We Dr. LaFrance, he's great. He helps veterans and veteran spouses. That's one of the things he does, and he does for them completely free. So did you use anything like that? Are you aware of programs like that?
So aware. I think there's too many, honestly.
Okay.
And no offense to Dr. Whatever, he's doing it on his own. I'm not talking about his group. But one of the things I found out as a senior leader leaving the military, you go through this executive pathway when you're leaving the military, and they make you aware of all these programs. And I think there's too much. It's almost information overload. Like, which one do you pick? Where do you go? So I didn't do it. I figured out what I wanted to do. And I applied for positions, and then I built my roadmap of what it would take to achieve success in that field. And then I did my phases. I did my milestones. I did the work. I watched YouTube videos. I briefed my family more than they would ever want to admit. And they know far more about project management than they will ever care to know. But that was my audience. That's how I would, and my family and me, we have a very good relationship to where they know they can give me unvarnished feedback. They can be mean to me. They can, because I want them to. Iron sharpens iron. And if I'm not getting that feedback, then I don't know the reality of where I really am. And so sometimes those are very difficult conversations, but I'm telling you, if you want to find out truth, get a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old and start talking to them about things, and they'll give you back truth. And my wife is very good about that as well. So I would practice in front of them and practice in front of them and practice in front of them. And then I would come to work and I would have my meetings and I would give my presentations and I would give my stuff. And by the time, I got to that point, I was really polished. I was prepared to go, and I could do it in a way that a 10-year-old could understand it and follow me.
Yeah, so my youngest colleague is 6, and he's fabulous, but he does keep me honest. I'll tell him things, and he'll say, "You're crazy," just like that, and you think, "Ooh, maybe I am," and so you back up. They're going to tell you the truth, and they haven't learned yet why people don't, right? And so that is going to be some of your best feedback is going to be from your youngest colleague. I'm born and raised in Arkansas as well. I am from the Flatlands. I did not use a parking brake until I moved to Batesville. I am one of those people that think that is a mountain between here and Southside. That is it. But how did growing up in Arkansas, how did that shape your sense of leadership? Do you think you have a distinctive leadership style as a result of being raised in Arkansas?
Yeah, absolutely. And I recognized it very early on, to the point to where when I got in leadership in the military, I actively sought people from Arkansas, from Mississippi, from Alabama, from Tennessee, from Georgia. When you're in the military for a long time, you start to figure out there's commonalities of people, and there's exceptions, of course, but there are commonalities and stereotypes from different portions of the United States, depending on what I was looking for. I mean, sometimes I would reach out and actively find a dude from New York, or find a guy from the upper Midwest, or find someone from the West Coast, just because stereotypically, they would have a skill set and a demeanor that would be fitting for a specific position. But in general terms, I really went after individuals from the South. And I think especially from areas like I grew up in, the way that I grew up in, you don't complain. It doesn't do you any good, because your parents don't care. And if you're not doing the right thing, someone's going to find out about it, and you're going to get punished twice. And one of the things that really caught me off guard is my leadership from an early on as a private. They would say, you're very quick to admit fault and ownership of what you did wrong, and you don't give excuses. And I figured out that I was getting punished a lot less than the people to my left and right, who were making excuses, who were trying to dance around whatever issue it was. So I learned that, man, that's value added. And then I figured out that I didn't like people when they complained, that negative feedback, that negative energy that they would bring and stuff. So, well, we typically don't do that too much, because there wasn't a whole lot to complain about. It didn't do you any good growing up. And you had to do the things that your parents told you to do, and that, leaders in the community told you to do. I grew up working very early on. I remember picking up job sites and construction sites at 7, 8 years old, and then making a salary at 10, 11 years old, under the table. Of course, it wasn't legal to do that, but I wanted to do that. I saw that. I saw my cousins and I saw my relatives being able to afford a car, being able to afford nice clothes. And they earned the money. It wasn't given to them. So I went and asked people, hey, when I'm not at school, will you pay me $5 an hour? And I was known in my community for just walking up to farmers, to walking up to job sites, to walking up to places and be like, you got anything need be? I charge $5 an hour. And whether throwing up trash or mopping the bathroom or the toilet, slopping hogs, I did it all because I wanted money. I wanted to be a kid with nice clothes. I wanted to be able to buy a car when I was 16 years old. And I did those things. So we equated the value of things and what it took to get those things. And I brought that in. But the most important thing that I want to hand over to people that are wanting to be leaders, you have to get comfortable with uncomfortable and put yourself in a position with people that's going to speak truth to you. Because when you surround yourselves with people that's just lying to you to tell you what they think you want to hear, then every decision that you make is not based on reality, and you're not moving in the direction you want to do. And so you find yourself in this captured environment in which you're always trying to adapt programs and change policy and do this differently and work towards this, when it's not the programs, it's not the policies. It's bad information coming to you because for whatever reason, the people that are underneath you are afraid to tell you the truth. So even though you don't like something, if they're being honest, respect it, digest it, leave that environment so that you can deal with your personal feelings, however it is that you need to deal with them, and then come back to the table ready to make a decision based on reality that's going to get you to where you want to go, because that should be the end state anyway.
And those are relationships that we need everywhere. You need them in your job. You need them in your church. You need them in your friendship groups, right? One of the things that I love about Miss Amanda is I can trust her to say, Sloan, you have something in your teeth. But she'll also say, Sloan, that's not biblical.
Yeah. Well, I sent her a text last night because we had been in a whole bunch of meetings and things were going on, and there was just some character traits of some different individuals that I just personally wouldn't like to live up to. And I sent her a text last night and I said, listen, if I ever act like that, I need you to let me know. I want you to tell me, because that's not the person that I want to be. And I don't want there to be a room full of people looking at me and going, oh, I wish you would stop. Yeah. And so I love that you're saying that, and I love you're talking about that, because it is so important. It's hard, right? It's hard to take feedback, but the amount of information that we can learn and the growth that can come from it, it's just immense. And we learn by looking at other people and hearing other people. But if somebody comes to you and says, hey, this is a real defect, like I really think that this is something you might need to work on, that's a hard pill to swallow. When we work on it and we fix it, then we have an opportunity to not only be a better person, but a better leader, a better Christ follower, a better mom, a better wife, husband, parent. It makes us overall a better person, because in all transparency, we're all a leader of something, right? Even if we're only leading ourselves or our family or whatever, we are leading. So I think that's really great. And I think I wanted to speak real quick too. You said people, when you make a mistake and you kind of own up to it and you say, I'm sorry. I think that's so important. I had a situation like that earlier this week. I made a mistake. It was just my mistake. And, and I just had to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And the person that it happened with was like, I just really appreciate you saying you're sorry and saying that you did it. And I'm like, well, I did do it. But I think we're missing that, right? There's so much in our society and this culture that's like, oh, I want to blame somebody or something, or it was the AI's fault, or it was the computer's fault. No, it was just my fault. I just did it, and I'm sorry I did it, and let me fix it. And so I was raised that too. I wasn't raised in Arkansas. I was raised in mostly in Georgia. For most of my life. And so I've been in Arkansas a little over 10 years now. I do love it here. It's very different than Georgia. I don't know that everyone would associate, but it's definitely been a learning experience for me. I was very much a city girl, and now I am not, because there is no city. But I love being here, and I'm really grateful that you're on here. I love your perspective. I actually have several people that I've done some projects on with the last couple of years who have done that same military transition into project management. And it's really interesting to learn from them and to hear their perspectives. I think I've been able to adapt my leadership style to the things that I have learned from them, and the different aspects of the planning ahead and planning for risks and understanding that those risks are going to happen, but that we have to be prepared for them and things like that. So I'll let Sloan have it back. I just wanted to kind of throw that in there a little bit.
No, absolutely. You interject. You've got good stuff. People want to hear it. Share it with us. I do want to dive a little more into the accountability, right? Just admitting when you're wrong. And people they are surprised when you're the first to admit it. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I made that mistake. You can almost see when we're in Zoom meetings, you're like, oh, there was a glitch. No, it's really their face. They're stunned into that silence, and they're a little paralyzed. But I do, just further in that vein, what did leading in high stakes military environment teach you about decision making when the cost of being wrong is at its highest?
Well, to that, I'll come right back to that, but I take it a step farther than a lot of leaders would do. Is I never allow individuals that work for me to take responsibility when something fails to my senior leaders. I always take it to them and put it on me. There was one point in time where a commander said, I know that wasn't you that did that. And I was like, you're right, sir. But I created the environment in which this individual thought that this was okay and permissible to do. So that is on me. So the focus needs to be on me from your perspective. I'll deal with what's below me in my way. We also need, at your level, you're going to deal with it for me. And that's where it should stay. And that was always, on both sides, that was always very appreciative. And I do that on the civilian side as well, too. If I'm going to be the person in charge, then I'm going to be the person in charge. I mean, it is what it is. When it comes to the military decision question that you just asked, one, people are far too afraid to accept risk. There's a certain level of risk in everything that you do, whether that's driving down the road to get a cup of coffee or jumping out of an airplane. There is a level of risk. Now, you can mitigate it. You can plan for it, you can prepare for it, but you can't avoid it. Life is risky. Living will kill you at some point. Living's going to kill you. So you're not going to get out of it alive. So stop pretending that risk isn't there and not a feature of everything that it is that you're doing. So one, try to figure out as best you can, because the enemy always gets a vote. So try to figure out what courses of action they're going to take, whatever it is that you're doing to influence and impact what it is that you're doing. And then plan mitigations and courses of actions based on what those assessments are that you deal with. But accept the risk. You have to, and also when you fail, put yourself into the mindset of being glad that you failed. And when I say that to people, they just get this crazy look on my face. I'm like, no, I love failure, because failure is one part of the process into me being better. And it's uncomfortable and I don't like it. And I put myself in extreme uncomfortable positions routinely, because that's the only way that I can grow. And how boring would life be if you just stayed the same all the time? Like the Norse 1 year from now needs to be different than the Norse today,
Yeah.
and 5 years and 10 years from now. I don't want to be the same. And the only way to do that is to get uncomfortable and put ourselves in positions to fail. Because when you fail, you realize that you reached a certain plateau in whatever it is that you were doing. Whatever caused you to fail, you've reached a plateau in something that you can now overcome. You just got to figure out what that is. So rush to failure. Don't rush to failure, but don't be afraid of failure. Get failure, figure out how you failed, overcome that failure, and improve upon it and build to where it is that you want to go.
Yeah,
Ab-
100%. I've learned more from failing than I think anything else. And you
For
just
who
have
you
to
are.
you have to get to a point where you can embrace that and go, okay. And also, as a leader, you have to embrace it in your team, right? You have to allow them to fail sometimes so that they can learn and they can get better and they can build upon themselves. And I think a lot of times leadership is putting so much pressure on their team that their team is afraid to fail. They don't know that it's okay, that it's a safe space to fail. We do that all across, we do that in our families with our kids. Like, we want so much better for everybody, right? But we forget that they have to get there too, and we learn from failing. So that's one of my favorite things. I love that you brought that up, because it is. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. So I'm a late in life mom. My son is the colleague. He's the 6-year-old. And so I had a unique advantage that when he was littler and he was like learning all the things, I was a bit more patient than I think I would have been. And I would just, I listened to somebody talking one day, maybe it was a podcast or something. She was talking about, if they spill the milk, let them clean it up. That's how they're going to learn it, and that's how they're going to adapt. And so I haven't done everything perfect, but I think I kind of hit the mark there, is because I would just let him do it. If it happened, it happened, as long as we weren't cutting fingers off and
Yeah.
stuff. But I've let him just learn that if I set it on the edge of the counter, it's going to fall, and then I'm going to have to clean it up. And he has adapted so well to that and learned so well. And now he'll just teach you and tell you. So I think failure is really important. I think it's a part of our growing process for sure.
That will pay
Watching
off for
people
you.
handle failure and how they communicate about failure really lets you see to their heart and their humility, right? And so when I watch someone who they fail gracefully, I think that's somebody I want to be around. That's
Yeah.
somebody I want to learn from. They're not making excuses. They're not blaming someone else. I mean, they're going to take responsibility, and they're humble. And those are the people
Yeah.
I want to hang out with.
Absolutely. And I think your child is going to benefit immensely from that, because when you look at children who have helicopter parents or have parents that do everything for them, they don't understand how to operate in life when they get older, and what a disservice that is to them. My kids are 13, 12, 11. They have been cooking for themselves since they were 6. Me and my wife are in perfect alignment on that. My kids knew what a gun was at the age of 3, and they knew how to handle it and respect it. Now, I didn't hand it to them with bullets in it, but they could tell you the components of it. They knew what its purpose was. They knew it was a tool. They knew it was an objective, and they weren't afraid of it. And they knew to leave it alone unless dad was around, and they respected that. And now they're, like I said, they're 13, 12, 11, and they do, 2 of them now actively do USPSA shooting competitions, and they consistently outperform adult males in their tournaments where they go, because they are so comfortable, because they have learned the right way. And they also do jujitsu, and they also do boxing, and they know how to work out, and then they have to work in the yard. I don't care how old you are. That's a you problem, not a me problem. It's time for you to figure it out. And if you want help along the way, I'll give you some advice and help. But here's the rake, here's the shovel, here's the hammer. You want to do it, figure it out, and I'll teach, coach, and mentor you along the way.
Yeah,
I've gotten to
100%.
see Brian's kids in the wild. I'll say I've gotten to see them around town and how they interact with other adults. You can tell, right? You can tell
Mhm.
that they've been raised to carry themselves with a sense of responsibility, a sense of propriety, and I just really like that about them. I got to do some line dancing classes with them, and they were great, and they would interact with other adults where you might watch another 11-year-old just sit in the corner and shy away, but that they were just so communicative and so
They're fun, man. They're a
entertaining,
lot of
and
fun.
you can just tell. And I think the same thing about your kiddos, Amanda. He's just, I mean, he's great, and you can tell, right? He's different. They're different, and I like that about them.
He's different, all right.
No, I love them. But Bryan, how do faith and family shape the way you make decisions and how you define success?
Well, my goal in life, my number one goal is to be the type of man where my adult children want to hang around with and want to have a relationship with. I want them to want to come over. I want them to want to spend time with me. And I think that's a pretty good azimuth on, are you the type of person that other people want to be around? If your own family, you can't hide from them. You have to be who you are. The veneer wears off. You can't fake it 24/7 when you're living with people. So if those individuals want to have a relationship with you and want to be around with you, I think you're doing pretty good, right, overall. And that's really who you should be concerned with at the end of the day, because all these other things that you do throughout life, none of those organizations, none of those people are going to be at your deathbed cleaning you up, taking care of you when you're on your way out. I mean, they're just not. So that's my focus. Now, whatever happens in between now and then, that's up to God a lot. I don't say that God's just going to do everything for me. I don't think that. I believe in parables. And I believe that my Lord and Savior will help a man that helps himself out, but you got to do the work. You got to meet him halfway. He's not a welfare check. You got to have some sweat equity. You got to have some equity involved in that process to get to where it is that he wants you to go if you're willing to accept it and follow it. Noah didn't survive the flood just because God wanted him to. No, Noah had to work and build and create relationships and convince people and do all the things that needed to be done in order to build the ark in order for them to survive. And I think that's a recipe for success in life. Like, you can't not do stuff. You can't not push yourself. You have to get comfortable with uncomfortable. You have to do the work that is required for you to be successful, and whatever it is that is. And that's just I was not always this way. We always grow. We always adapt. I mean, if I would love to have had better influences on me at certain points in my life when I was growing up, I think my generation, with some of the TV and some of the news cycles and some of the advertisement stuff for that, they really didn't do us any service. And we were latchkey kids, right? So we did get a lot more influence from the TV and from advertisements than we should have gotten. And because our parents had to work, they had to provide. And they grew up in a completely different environment where that wasn't always on top of them. My parents didn't have a TV in the home, but we did. And they didn't understand the dangers of it like we do now because we've experienced it. So I would have very much liked to have been more involved in church growing up because my family wasn't, and to get some of the values and lessons and have that to build on. I would have liked to have said that my wife is the only partner that I've ever been with in life.
Right.
That's probably the biggest regret in my life is that I did have other partners before my wife, but I didn't have the azimuth of what was good, what was true, what was the right path. So my awakening to religion happened in the military after an accident when I probably shouldn't be here today. And I said, I've got to figure this thing out. I think there's a little bit more to this than just this sack of meat and bones that's here. And what does that look like? And I approached it very methodically and logically. I went out to just about every religious institution that you can think of. I read the Quran. I read the Talmud. I read the Bible, of course. I read the Orthodox Bible. I went to every denomination that you could think of involving Christianity. Plus, I did go to a Muslim church. I ruled them out very, very quickly, but I did go and listen to a couple of mosque services. And I went to a Judea service as well. And I went to a Mormon and ruled that one out very quickly for me. It just wasn't for me. But when I started, figuring this stuff out and where it is that I wanted to be, I settled on Catholicism for me. And the reason it's one's not better than the other. One's not got something that the other one doesn't. But for me, I like tradition. I like ceremony. I like the reverence. I like the organizational structure of it. And I like knowing that it's going to end at a certain time. I'm going to get in there and do my thing and roll out. But moreover than that, when you really dove into it, for me, there was an extreme emphasis on the personal relationship of it as well, and things to do and how you could apply yourself into that. So that's why I chose that avenue. And me and my family, we are Catholic and we are practicing Catholic, even though we've got a whole bunch of issues with the Catholic Church. I mean, the bishop of the Little Rock Diocese yesterday released a statement publicly calling us Nazis in America, modern day Nazis. And it makes it very, very difficult. The things that I got to deal with within my own religion, as everyone else does, and I'll deal with them
Yeah,
within my.
I was gonna say that too. Like, so I was raised Pentecostal. My dad, who is the founder of our company, he was a minister his whole life. And just the last couple of years had retired. And just so you know, the Pentecostals, they don't stop at a certain
I
time.
know, I'm doing
But yeah, I mean, I think that there's controversy and there's questions and there's issues. I think, like you were saying, there's some hard and fasts, right? There's like, this is a no for me. And this is something that I can stand on this platform. But I think, like, when it comes to the end of the day, the Bible is what we're going to go to, right? That's the truth. That's the word that we need to be searching and looking at. So I love that you're willing to share that too. And I love you're willing to be transparent about it. Like, there's issues with this, and there's issues, I'm really non-denominational now and have been for a lot of years. And that's just where I felt comfortable. Our family felt comfortable, but there's issues there, right? And I tell people, we lead a home group. And one of the things we talk to them about sometimes, like, we're never going to get along all the time, right? We're always going to have some issues and some back and forth. And that's okay, as long as we can do it in a healthy, respectful way. I don't choose Catholicism, but that doesn't mean that I can't be friends with you or we can't have good debates or good conversations. And that's one of the things that I love about the mission of this podcast, is to have these conversations, because you see things that I may not see and I can learn from you in that. And I think that's important that we do that in our religions as well. Not, and we make it a conversation that we can have together and it not be tense or uncomfortable.
the
So,
biggest thing.
When I pray for people, I don't pray for them to come to the Southern Baptist Church. I don't pray for them to come to the non-denominational church or the Catholic Church. What I pray for them is to come to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ, right?
yeah.
I pray for them to have a personal relationship with the Savior. That's what I pray for. So,
Yeah.
however you practice that relationship, I can let you do that. I can have, but I just want you to know Jesus. I want you to know God. And when you die, I want to see you in heaven. That's how we pray.
When you have those conversations, it makes you more foundational in your beliefs, right?
Sure.
Because if they don't stand up and you really don't believe in them, that comes out very quickly. Me and my wife talk all the time. And we, even within our own religion, we got people that say, well, whatever, right? And do you think God really cares about that at the end of the day? And I have a lot of priests and pastors that I've built relationships with and I'm friends with, and we'll get in deep conversations and I'll ask them that same question. Do you really think that God actually cares about that little nuance of your denomination, that little specific part of the way that you do something? Because the way that I read it, he says, come to me with the innocence of a child. And a child doesn't take communion. A child doesn't necessarily know how to read the Bible and go through with it. A child doesn't know how to burn incense. A child doesn't know all of the dogmatic relationships and beliefs that you've instituted in your religion. So you've just found a way to come to Christ, and that's beautiful. But that doesn't mean that it's the way, right?
Yeah.
If you're approaching it from the innocence of a child, just have an open heart and do the right thing, man. I think that's, at the end of the day, that's pretty much the goal.
And I'm no preacher, so I'm not even going to try. But Paul talks about that, right? Too. Like, are you following me? Are you following Apollos? Like, that's not the point, right? Are you following Jesus? Are you have that relationship with him? That's really the point. And so I love this conversation. I'm really happy that you opened that up and brought that to light. I want to be really respectful of your time. So a fun thing that we're trying to do on this podcast, where we ask every single person same two questions, because not everybody's going to answer them the same way. And we've had a really, really good time with this. It's really interesting to see what everybody's answers are. So I'm going to ask the first one this time, because Sloan asked the last time, and then I'll let her ask the last one, and then we'll wrap up. Who is a leader that you admire, and why has that person influenced you?
Epictetus, who is he was Greek. He was a slave under one of the Roman emperors. He's one of the Stoics, and the way that he come about, and the way that he lived his life, one, he was true to himself at all times, and he was a slave, freed, and enslaved again, and then freed again. But he lived more than probably any other known actual person to live through struggle beyond Jesus Christ, who was God, not just a man, but Viktor Frankl. If you know who he is from the Holocaust and all that stuff, that man had a tough go in it, right? And the only other person that probably lived a tougher, harder life than him was Epictetus. And at the end of his life, when he was being interviewed by someone, they asked him what it was like to be a slave. And he said, I couldn't tell you the answer to that question. And the guy said, but you were a slave and treated horribly, and you were put in dungeons, and you were tortured, and the scars on your body show these. And he said, they had my body, but my mind was never in servitude. I did whatever I wanted to in my own mind. And at the end of my life, I became the chief advisor to the emperor. You know, what a phenomenal way to end.
Great answer.
That is. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna have to look into him more. I didn't know that history.
I know, me too. Everybody just had such good answers to this question. It's really exciting.
I know. I'm glad that we're asking these questions and not answering them, because
for sure.
I'm taking everybody's answer and maybe I'll make one from that. But Mr. Bryan, when you think about your legacy, what impact do you hope that your leadership leaves behind?
Be a better person. You can amass fortunes. You can have all the niceties of life, but it's never going to be enough. You're always going to want more. You might get instant gratification from it, but it's not going to feel what it is that you're really looking for. And that's going to be a relationship to where you can look yourself in the mirror and be comfortable with the person that you see on the other side of that mirror. That you've got to sort that relationship out first. And you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself unconditionally of the things that you've done in the past that you're not proud of. The only person that can do that is you. Give it up to God, forgive yourself, and move on. And then forgive everyone else too. And continually forgive and hope the best for them, and hope that they move out of the situations that they are in, and pursue that every day in everything that you do in your life, with the end state of being a better human being than you were 5 minutes before, a day before, a week before, and that making sure that you're helping other individuals around you do the same.
Yeah.
And you can't take care of the full balanced budget of everything of humanity, right? But if you take care of the pennies, the dollars will start to take care of themselves. And that starts with ownership, and that starts with fixing who you are, and then fixing the ones to your left and right that you can touch. And maybe it'll grow from there. And if we were all doing that, we'd have a lot less problems that we have today.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. And that's a strong way to end this episode right there. I think
I got nothing.
Mr. Bryan handled it, but Mr. Bryan is running for Secretary of State. We will have his website link. We will drop that below so that you will be able to find him. Big things in the future. I don't know what it looks like for you, but I know whose team you're on, right?
Yeah.
And so I know that you're going to be a blessing. You're going to be blessed. And he's going to protect you and your family. So we will add you to the prayer list. And we will keep you there. We will intercede for you. But thank you so much for your time, Bryan. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thanks for, I wasn't going to bring up that I was running or anything on there. I was going to let you guys do it. So thanks for doing that. But since you did, I'll tell you, just like I tell everyone else where I go, all I'm asking for is an opportunity to earn your vote, not give it to me. Do your research, ask me questions. I've never told anyone no. I just want a fair shot at earning it from you. And I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to be perfect. There was only one person that was perfect, and he left about 2,100 years ago. But if you give me a chance, I'll do my best.
Yeah, and I think this type of conversation is so good to have, because it lets people see your heart and your style of leadership and what they can expect when you win and you are able to represent us. And we are honored to support you in your mission. And if there's anything else that we can do to support you, let us know. We'll have all of your information when we go live with this, and tell us when, where, how do we vote, all of that, so we can put that out to everybody.
So if you're not registered to vote, you have to be registered by February 2nd in order to vote in this primary. So that's coming up very, very soon. So if you haven't done it, drag someone else that hasn't done it, get them to vote. If you're going to be a member of the Republic, that's part of it, right?
That's right.
You got to exercise your right and vote, or you don't have a right to complain. I don't want to hear you. And then early voting starts February 17th. And the primary day is March 3rd. If you're in the Batesville area, I would like to invite you guys. We are having a election night watch party. It will be at Lutheran Church on White Drive. We're going to open up probably around 5, something like that. We're going to have stuff there. We'll have live results and everything coming up. So yeah, it'd be awesome to have you guys there. You're invited. Your families are invited. There's going to be a lot of kids there. They're going to be doing their thing. Whenever me and my wife go out and do stuff like this, we've always put an emphasis on the kids having a good time. So we're going to have plenty of stuff for the kids to do. So we're going to bring in some educational stuff for them to do too, involving politics, getting them educated on the civil process and fun stuff to do like that. So it'll be a good time if you guys can make it. And that's open to anyone else in Batesville. All are welcome. Even if you're a Democrat, even if you're an independent, I'm running to represent all 3 million Arkansans, and I need to do right by you just as I do right for my party.
That's right.
Once I take office, I'm not a Republican. I'm the Secretary of State and represent 3 million people. So I need to know you and your problems as well so we can work on make those better. So come on out, get to know me. Maybe we can focus on the 90% of the things that we all agree on and just ignore the 3% that we have.
I love that. Thank you, Mr. North. I appreciate you so much. It's been such an honor. I have no doubt that we're going to be seeing each other again. And I'm just really, really grateful that you agreed so wholeheartedly to be on this with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.